can't make money doing one-on-one tutoring. Before I knew it, I think somebody told me, maybe it was you, oh, it was Kent that actually said, you've created a monster. And I had all these kids in one-on-one classes. I think I had like 7 or 8. Yeah, do not do that. I was driving myself crazy.
Our participant list down here. Let's see who we got joining us here today. Looks like we got Christopher. What's going on, Christopher? Hope you're having a good day. We got Lauren in here. Oh, look at this. Looks like we got Ali in here like 20 times. So we'll see. Hopefully we get some more folks coming in here as well. But yeah, we're really, really excited to go ahead and get jumping in here, guys. If you are jumping in here with us here today, yeah, definitely utilize that chat down below. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from, which is good. Looks like we got Michigan popping in here. There we go. UK. I love it. South Wales, Lauren. Love it. Perfect. Excellent. Love seeing folks from all over the country here popping in, which is great. So perfect. Perfect. So yeah, guys, if you are brand new here to the Teacher Project, one of our webinars that we have run here in the last, 6 to 8 months, you haven't met myself yet. My name is Kyle. I'm the Client Success Director here at the Teacher Project. And when we think about the Teacher Project, some people even don't even know, what it is that we do, but we really work with educators, we work with teachers, we work with tutors that really have a passion and just, inspired by education. But ultimately might want to go ahead and do it in a different space that might not be in the classroom. They want to go ahead and do it on their own terms. And Kelly, I know that this is something that has applied to you as well. It means something different to everyone, but you could be teaching what you want, teaching where you want, right? That geographic freedom of having an online business. Also teaching when you want, right? How is this going to go ahead and work around your life? And ultimately, how can we go ahead and charge higher rates at the end of the day so that we can go ahead and take care of ourselves, take care of our families, and ultimately, at the end of the day, guys, get amazing results for our students at the end of the day. So we've been doing this for a regular basis, just being able to get people in here and be able to go ahead and chat with them about their journeys, their experiences, the trials they've been going through, the wins that they've been going through, which again allows us to kind of see, hey, this is something that I can do as well. So we're really, really excited to dig in here with one of our clients that's up in our impact program, actually. So I'm really, really excited to kind of introduce you guys to Kelly Bush. Kelly, how you doing today?
Hi, Kyle. Hi, everybody. It's
Hey.
great to be here.
Yeah, we're so glad that you could be here as well. And I know that, looking at the last couple months, Kelly, I know that over the summer, which sometimes people are very, very looking at the summers as like a lull in tutoring businesses, you've been able to do, the complete opposite and be able to go ahead and generate your first 10K month in the month of July, which is why we wanted to kind of have you on here and chat about that as well, which is really, really cool. So let's go ahead. Let's get this conversation started because I can see we got Lauren in here. We got a whole bunch of people in here as well. Holly's popping in. Amazing. Love it. So, guys, if you guys have any questions as we're going through today's interview, feel free, pop them in the chat. Kelly and I would love to go ahead and chat with you guys and answer any of your questions along the way. But let's get this conversation going. Kelly, do you want to let everybody know, kind of just again, your name, where you're located, and the subject that you specifically have dialed in on to kind of help students? Let's start there and then we'll dig into your story a little bit.
Okay, perfect. So I'm based in Fort Worth, Texas, and I have been with the Teacher Project since the end of February.
Mhm.
I teach in middle and early high school students reading comprehension and writing. So, I've kind of changed my target market a little bit. So it's mainly students that they're not really struggling per se, but they really just want a leg up, want to maybe get into advanced courses for parents that are kind of thinking ahead, and that's who I market to. So sixth to ninth grade is pretty much my target.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Mhm.
Especially in the reading space, right? There are so
Mhm.
many students. I don't care if you're working with littles in that like second, third, fourth grade area, or you're working with higher level students just in the reading comprehension. Reading definitely applies to every single subject, right? Whether it's math or science, there's always a connection there. So for other folks that are out there that are in the reading space, and let us know, like Lauren, Holly, that if you guys are jumping in in here. Like, what do you specialize in working with students on? Maybe you got one specific target or a handful. Like, let us know. We'd love to know that too. But again, just knowing with the Teacher Project, we help folks in every area, right, of education, whether it's math, science, reading. I do test prep here in the US. So no matter what you teach, if you got a passion for it, you can go ahead and dig in, which is really, really cool. So yeah, Kelli, when you came into the Teacher Project back in February, where were you at? What were you experiencing prior to that? Maybe in
Mhm.
December, January? Were you just kind of
Mhm.
getting up and running, or what was your story? What was
Mhm.
happening before you kind of jumped in with us?
So I taught middle school for 15 years. I started my teaching career actually doing some tutoring and substituting. So I'd done a little bit, the one-on-one thing, but I taught several different grades from fourth to eighth, but seventh grade was where I spent most of my career and loved it. I loved teaching. However, there were a lot of things I did not love. And I actually abandoned my contract. I walked out on my contract. So, if anybody knows about that, at least in the state of Texas, when you do that, you are pretty much saying goodbye to the whole career in a
Mhm.
lot of ways. So, I was okay with that. It was not any, well, I guess it was easy in some ways, but not. Yeah. Yeah. See that I had 1.5 years. Yeah. I had only been teaching for like it was like 14, 15 years. So I was way away from any kind of retirement whatsoever. But I actually lived out of the country. I left teaching and then I moved out of the country. My family and I we lived outside of the country for 2.5 years. Then I decided to come back into teaching. I missed teaching, but it had gotten worse after those years. I thought it had gotten better. So, a lot of time restraints, curriculum restraints, parent demands and
Mhm.
just all those things that all teachers probably are familiar with. So I left in October. I
Yeah.
walked out. I just left. And it was really devastating because I left a career that I absolutely loved. And I
Mhm.
still miss it. However, so I was just kind of looking around. I was just kind of staying at home and just kind of decompressing. And I think it was like, well, it was February when I saw the Teacher Project ad. And it just seemed like the perfect fit. I mean, I don't know. I had done tutoring. I know how to teach. Yeah. So but I didn't know anything at all about running a business or being a business owner. And I'm still learning a lot. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we all
yeah,
are,
just yeah,
right?
like literally every single day. I know we'll get into that a little bit later, but that's kind of my story. And it came across my lap, and I didn't think too long about it really. I just made the decision, and then in June I joined Impact. I went to Denver for that whole thing, and so yeah, that's what it's been so far.
I love that.
Mhm.
I love that. And I'm just looking in the chat right now, Kelli. There looks like there's, Chris is doing K through 12, teaching all subjects. Looks like Lauren, 5 to 11, currently teaching year 3, age 7. She's a dance
Mhm.
teacher as well. Like when we look at, anybody that's kind of popping in and joining us, I think every single person, the common thread that everybody has is that they love to teach. They love education.
Mhm.
But again, like you said, there's like so many things that maybe come with the classroom, whether it's the politics, whether it's the admin, whether it's not having the control and you're being forced to teach a certain way, even though you know that doesn't work, or you're having to just teach to the test and like kids aren't learning. There's so many things that kind of just dig in underneath our skin and say, how can I love this thing, but I don't love where I'm at? Like, how can I
Yeah.
find a difference? And I love that you went ahead and saw the ad. That was actually my experience too. I actually wasn't in the classroom, but I was a tutor, like basically full time, and I needed to figure out how to get to group lessons so I could go ahead and have more time back to
Mhm.
spend with my family, right? At the end of the day. And so yeah, Lauren is saying it's hard right now in the classroom. She's
Yeah.
taught 14 years and it's changed so much, right? And again, we are in an ever-changing, evolving world right now. But like I said earlier, if you want to go ahead and be able to kind of teach on your own terms and take your passion, yeah, we do know how to teach, but we have to learn how to go ahead and run a business. Go back and have that growth mindset as well, which is going to be key. So as we like see where you were and see yourself like coming into the Teacher Project back in February, well, the main things that we teach anybody, and this is for anybody watching right now, we teach you guys how to get dialed in on your offer. right? Kind of like your North Star. We teach you how to go ahead and get your voice out there and your message via your marketing, and we teach you how to sell, right? How to go ahead and understand people and be able to go ahead and find a solution for them. So let's talk through just each of those three things here real quick, Kelly. When you came in, was, working with your coach and working with the team here, did that kind of help you get really solid on like, yes, this is my North Star. This is what I want to kind of focus on when you first kind of came into the program?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was so green. I didn't know what to do. I mean, but I'm a student also. I love to learn and I'm not the deal. I mean, the process is really the deal. I just followed it. When I
Mhm.
came in, I came in the end of February. I started running ads in March. I mean, I went through, I don't know how many modules, Kyle, there are in that intro thing. I went through those in like less than 2 weeks. I said, I'm not teaching, I'm not working. This is my job. So I was lucky enough to where I got to go through all that stuff and I had my ads running in just a matter of weeks. That's not, I'm not saying everybody should do it like that, but that's what I did. I was just really hungry and I followed the process. I did exactly, because sometimes teachers are not good students. But I really went through that stuff and followed the process and I still do every day. I'm on something. I am some hour coaching hour, or I am asking questions, or always. I couldn't have done it without. I mean, it sounds cliche, but there's no way I would have been able to do this whatsoever without all these people in the teacher project. No way. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, that's the thing you got to realize is that, you can definitely learn things on your own, but being able to go ahead and be a part of a community and be able to go ahead and learn things from other people that have gone on the journey, that's going to be the key thing there as well. So yeah, it looks like we got a lot of people kind of coming in here and, being able to dial in on your offer is going to be really, really key. So I'm glad that you kind of got that in place as well. And I love that. Kelly's Literacy Lab. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
got that nice ring to it, which is great. So if you guys are looking to go ahead and connect with Kelly and kind of understand what she's doing as well,
Mhm.
definitely check that out, which is key. Actually, I think you just sent that to the host. So let me go ahead and send that
Oh,
out to Kelly's Literacy
yeah. Hosts and
Lab.
panelists.
There we go.
Oh,
Great question, guys.
okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw in the Q&A somebody had asked like, "Hey, what subject does Kelly teach?" She
Mhm.
teaches reading, guys, to like 6th through
Yeah.
10th grade, right?
Yeah.
Comprehension.
Reading and writing, both. I
Yeah.
combine them both.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, once you kind of had that offer kind of dialed in, I know a lot of people have, maybe a little bit of uneasiness, a little bit of nervousness about starting to like put themselves out there. Because again, you might have something great to bring to the world, but if you can't go ahead and get it, in front of people where they're sitting with their phones and being able to scroll, nobody's going to know about it. So, any advice or any feedback that you can kind of give to folks watching right now on like that journey and how that started up for you, kind of getting your voice out there, Kelly?
Yeah, so I didn't do a lot of organic marketing necessarily. You know, I get on social media, but I wasn't like totally into that necessarily. So I just kind of leaned into the Facebook ads and I did videos. I actually enjoyed doing the videos. I didn't have a
Hmm.
problem with that. That wasn't really a sticking point with me. It did take me a while to hone in my STO, my signature tutoring offer, because at first I did really struggling students, but then I was getting people that were just not quite a good fit for me. And so I decided, well, I'm not going to do so much struggling students. I'm going to do maybe students that are just, maybe there's some reading comprehension gaps and they're just really looking to kind of fill some of those gaps and things like that.
Hmm.
So I will say that, I had made some videos and I changed them a few times. I mean, it took me a while to really kind of get that sweet spot in there, but it was a little bit of a trial and error, and you have to be kind of patient on those things. But yeah, those videos are really they are. If I could go back, I probably would have just started out with those. But not everybody wants to do those videos. But yeah, I mean, I will honestly say that one video brought me over $20,000. So, and it's nothing special. I did it sitting right where I am right now on my phone. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we
Hmm.
always say that, the curriculum is kind of like the backbone of your entire instruction, right? And so for everybody watching, right, I'm just looking
Hmm.
at all of you guys like coming into our program, Lauren, Marianne, Nick, Nassim, all of you guys, like if you guys did come in to the Teacher Project program here, like we really do try to lay everything out in a very linear, very sequential way so you can walk through it step by step. And like I said, walk through the marketing, walk through the sales, walk through the delivery, all of those things are going to be super, super important. And again, it walks you through step by step, which is key. key, which is key. And I know that, as we look at getting marketing up, guys, Kelly had mentioned paid marketing. That's kind of our backbone, right? We really want to go ahead and help you kind of put your billboard next to the highway so people can see you on a regular basis and start creating that predictable marketing that you want. We always want to go ahead and layer in some organic as well. It always helps the algorithms as well get your stuff out there. But in the beginning, that's kind of the first thing that we look at. Yeah, Christopher says, how do you sort them? Sort them for the people you tutor. Not sure, Christopher, if I understand the question, but go ahead, see if you can spell it out a little bit clearer for me, and we'd be happy to go ahead and answer that for you. So, yeah, once you got the marketing kind of up and running, Kelly, I know that you are putting in a lot of time as you started to kind of take some sales calls and started to go ahead and learn some of those skills, jumping into the sales clinics, all of that. I know for me, it was something that I was not natural at. I had to go ahead and work at. I was having things like fall through the cracks left and right, but I just kept like working on it and working on it. What has been kind of your experience as you've kind of started to dig into that? What was really like a big, maybe aha moment that maybe you had? I don't know if it came from Rob or came from your coach, but what was one thing that from a sales perspective, that these folks could really, attach to?
Well, I hear a lot of people, well, yeah, all the coaches. I mean, I talk to everybody because they all have such a different perspective. But I really had to, I guess there's so much that I could offer in that particular part because, you know, I have gone up and down with sales. And I hear a lot of teachers say, well, I'm not a salesperson. You don't need to be a salesperson. You just have to be willing to change and receive
Mm,
feedback. And one of the most excruciating things for me, even though I stood up in front of kids all the time, I have no problem with doing that kind of stuff. Taking that having somebody listen to my sales calls and give me feedback was, I don't know how to describe it. It was very powerful, but it was very
mm,
humbling as well. It's like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm teaching. I mean, what's the big deal? But
yep.
there is a little bit of a finesse to it and believing in what you do. But I think the main thing with me is that just determination was,
Mhm.
I mean, I've had moments where I've had my pity parties and all, and everybody who knows me knows that. But it's just sheer determination and just keeping going, just keep going. And yeah, I think that's the one word would be to describe it would be determination,
Yeah, I think that
grit.
that is probably one of the key things whenever you're going into running your own business. Kelly. You couldn't say it any better than what you just did because it does. It requires us to go ahead and have that perseverance to go ahead and push through those trials and those challenges, and ultimately it refines us. But I think a lot of the times we, like you said, we get into our own head, we start getting negative, we start going ahead and throwing our little pity party, like, I can't quite do this right. And then we think we need to jump out when in fact we need to lean in. We need to keep kind of pushing in that space. And I'm just looking here,
I'm putting my
Christopher.
different socials because there's different names that
Yeah.
there's a
Christopher
fade on
clarified. He
Instagram.
said, when you're choosing the student to tutor that fits the level you want to teach, how do you do it? Especially not knowing the student's level, especially not making it a struggle for yourself. So that's really, really key, Christopher. When we talked about picking your signature tutoring offer, we really want to go ahead and get the marketing so dialed in on a particular avatar, a particular individual, right? It might be year 6 and 7. It might be year 3 and 4 for reading. For me, for test prep, I'm looking and saying, hey, I'm working with 11th and 12th grade high school students that want to get a 30 plus score on their ACT, right? If I get an eighth grader that's working on that, well, guess what? I'm probably not going to be working with that student. If I get a fifth grader that calls me for math, I'm probably not going to be working with that student, right? Because I want to work with my specific niche because it allows us to go ahead and group. It allows us to charge premium rates, and it allows you to not get stretched in every single direction trying to serve every single type of student. And then you're sitting there prepping for a
Yeah.
number of different sessions. I don't know about you, Kelly, but like back in the day, someone called me for statistics, and I never even taught statistics, but I was like, yeah, I can teach you
Hmm.
statistics. And then I
Hmm.
spent 4 hours before every session starting to study. First
Yep.
one 45-minute lesson, right? And it was
Yep.
not good. It was
Yep.
not good. So
Yep.
hopefully that helps, Christopher, that when you are looking for the students, you set that early on upstream with your signature tutoring offer so that all of your marketing is speaking to one particular individual so you can help them moving along, Right. And guys, I just want you guys to know, if any of this is resonating with you and you're in the same position as where Kelli was, maybe like 8 months ago, you're maybe in the classroom or maybe you're looking to try to figure out how to do your own thing via tutoring. Feel free, guys. You can always check out this link here and speak with one of our team members. Again, it's only like a 10-minute, 15-minute call, no strings attached. Again, it's just about going ahead and learning. Hey, is this something that could help me? Is it something that could help take me where I want to go? We're always in this particular space, guys, because we want to help you guys get the facts. Again, I always say facts are your friends, right? Sometimes worrying about all the bandwidth and all the issues and all the problems, it's like, hey, if I just got the right facts, I'd be able to go ahead and take the next step. So if that's you, feel free to click that link. You can go ahead and book in a session with one of our team members. We'd love to speak with you. So yeah, as you started to get the signature tutoring off, you started to get the marketing dialed in, Kelli. You started to go ahead and get the sales figured out. Like you said, you came to our Denver live event, which was all
Mhm.
around sales. What was going through your head, the first time you hit like that 5K mark? And then in
Mhm.
July, you were like, oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna like go ahead and cross into that 10K mark. Were you in kind of
Mhm.
like a state of disbelief? I know that that was kind of my experience when that happened to me as well. But what was going through your head at that point, a month and a half ago?
Well, I think the most important thing that I learned through that was that I could do it.
Hmm.
Like I had what it takes to do it. I didn't know what the future would look like or what the next month would look like, but I knew that what I did was working and that I had the skills that I needed to do that. And, for summer, I think kind of going back to the signature tutoring offer, to me, that was really a pivotal part because I did start out thinking, okay, well, I'm going to do all these kids because it means I'm going to have more clients and more people. And I was kind of offering it to, and then I became overwhelmed in the beginning because I really needed to narrow it down.
Hmm.
And I think that I still question that sometimes. Maybe I should just do, seventh and eighth grade, but then it's like that sixth grade parent calls. And I'm like, I can help them so much. So, I do divide up my classes, sixth and seventh graders, and then I do eighth and ninth graders. So that's a little bit beside the point. But I think that the market that I was, the people that I was marketing to, the parents, they're the type of parents that weren't going to just let their kids coast all summer.
Yeah.
So, it could have been timing. I did put in the work. I mean, I do work really, really hard. I will say. I work harder than probably most people do. I don't know everybody, but I do work really hard. So it could have been, a
Except me.
culmination of,
Except me, Kelli.
except
You got
Kyle.
nothing me.
Kyle's the only one that works harder than me. Yeah, yeah, sure. So I think it would kind of been a culmination of things, just maybe right timing on some things. I mean, hard work and timing, but yeah, so at least I knew that I could do it. And
Hmm.
that was a big thing for me personally.
Yeah. And, I think that, as I think back on my journey as well and thinking about hitting some of those milestone moments, I always tell people that, if you ever want to get to that abundant state, well, it always starts with belief, right? You got to
Mhm.
believe in what you're doing, how you're
Mhm.
doing it, which is going to allow you to take action, which is going to open up opportunities to be able to capitalize on those opportunities. And I've been able to watch you, do that and step into those spaces and say, hey, I'm going to figure out, I know that I'm coming in as a teacher, but I know that I need to become a business owner. I need to learn about marketing. I need to learn about sales. I need to learn about how to run these classes. And I love you just being like open and honest with everybody here, being like, yeah, I got like these two groups, but it's kind of spreading me, but maybe I need to
Mhm.
rethink that. And I think
Mhm.
that that ultimately, as I think about, what I hope everybody can walk away from this conversation with, Lauren, Marion, Neeson, Christopher, Sharon, like I hope you guys can all realize that as you're going on this entrepreneurial journey and you want to go ahead and be your own boss and you want to have creative control and do all these things, guess what? It never starts off perfect. It never starts off like that end thing that you see in your head. We always start. The middle is always messy and complicated, and it's not exactly how we want it. We didn't want it to like happen that way. But again, we need that messy middle in order to learn, in order to adapt, in order to refine ourselves and get better. And so if any of you guys are on the fence of like, yeah, I don't know if I want to jump into this or yet. I always tell people the best time to start anything was 20 days ago. The next best time is now because if you're waiting for that perfect moment or you're waiting for the clouds to part and to be like, I hear a voice from God telling me to do this, guess what? You might be waiting a really long time because you know what? It's about getting started. It's about going ahead and saying, yeah, right where I'm at, I'm going to start this journey here moving forward. So, if that's you, definitely drop a yes down below if you're like, yeah, I definitely want to go ahead and get this thing up and running because it's going to be key to get started, to just get moving. So yeah, Lauren, Christopher, I love it.
So Kyle, I'll answer a couple of those questions in there. Looks like I had it. So, and kind of one of the mistakes I made in the beginning that I would so tell people to avoid. I hear a lot of one-on-one or small groups. I mean, obviously we do small groups. So I do 4 to 5 kids in a lesson. You can't make money doing one-on-one tutoring. And I personally, when I first started and I first started getting my students,
Mhm.
I was real accommodating and I just needed to get some sales under my belt. So before I knew it, I think somebody told me, maybe it was you, oh, it was Kent that actually said, you've created a monster. And I had all these kids in one-on-one classes. I think I had like 7 or 8. Yeah, do not do that. I was driving myself crazy. It's like you're running this business. Yeah, and it's just not good. I see it. I know tutors that do the same thing. And I want, this family, oh, I can only do Mondays I mean, it was almost summer at the time, but we
Mhm.
can only do Mondays at 4. And then, little Johnny can only do Wednesdays at 6. And I was like, okay, I'll put you down for 4. Oh, okay, I'll put you down for 6. And literally before I even knew it, like 30 days later, I had 7 individual students in different classes. And don't do it. Seriously, like do not do it at all. I mean, I would like have 2 or 3 times and just start plugging students into those times. And I wish
Yeah.
I had known that. I'm sure somebody told me that along the way, but I was like, no, and I was scared to do group tutoring. I got over that like really, really fast because to me, there's no difference between having 4 in a class or having 1.
Yeah.
Literally, in fact, it's easier to have 4 because they talk to each other and it's not being the deal. But yeah, so those one-on-one tutors. I said to my coach this morning, I said, I feel like it's, when you're driving down the road and you're not in a hurry, you're not speeding, but you're trying to get somewhere and you hit every single red light. It's like,
Yep.
can I just hit a green, please? But those one-on-ones are just like red lights. I mean, they stop you from doing the things those revenue generating activities, which I'm all
Hmm.
about that. And then they kind of stop you from doing that. So if I could give you any advice in the beginning, it would be to try to not do that in
Yep.
the beginning. Yeah. Yeah.
It
So
is
don't do
so
that.
it is so true, and I'm glad you answered that, Kelly, because a lot of people they're just nervous about teaching in a group space. And again, it's a new skill set, but once you learn it, it opens up so many opportunities where now you can go ahead and work with multiple individuals all at the same time, be able to go ahead and not burn yourself out on one-on-one after one-on-one after one-on-one. That was my experience, and so yeah,
These are
it's
great questions in there. Great questions
yeah.
in there, Kyle. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to answer some of these questions in there?
Yeah, why don't you go
I know you're
ahead
trying to
and
you're
think
trying
of
to feed the questions and it's hard.
yeah, it's all good. Which one
Yeah,
were you looking
good.
at, Kelly?
Asking about the evergreen, so I kind of see things that are asked, and those are really great questions actually, because these are some of those tricky areas. When I started, I did the 30-day case study. And I don't know, do you want me to talk about that? Like how I started out with that?
Yeah, I know people would love to hear just kind of the progression
Mhm,
as you kind of went maybe a
mhm,
case study to like a full-fledged program and how you're able to charge high ticket. Yeah, go ahead and answer
mhm.
that because I know a lot of people
Yes.
wonder.
Yeah. So I started out with a case study and it was recommended to do 30 days, just to get some practice under your belt and things like that. And, like $97 or something like that. And I thought that for a couple days and I decided that I was going to charge a lot more than that. So I actually bumped my 30-day study to 197.
Mhm.
And I had a few of those under my belt. I had a handful of 30 days. And then I started thinking, well, I'm going to I think I went from 30 days to actually like, I think I tried a 6 week, but I settled on a 12-week program.
Mhm.
It just makes the most sense. I think it's what a lot of the tutors do, just the timing. I do, reading and writing, and it just kind of fit well. I do 2 classes a week They're about 55 minutes each. I provide all the lessons. I do, Padlet. I mean, I do different things like that, but I'm always going back to the drawing board. Like, is it evergreen? Yeah. So that's something that I've also gone back and forth on. I mean, right? Should I allow kids to come in every week? Should I allow them to come in every 2 weeks? They
Yep.
both have their positives, and I'm kind of back to once a week. Because if I talk to a parent and they're like, oh, well, I was really hoping to start next week. And I say, oh, well, no, you have to wait 2 more weeks. They're like, I don't want to have to say that to a parent. So I'm like,
Yep.
okay, every week, and but it's that constant thing. I've gone to that now. So I try to make it evergreen to where they don't, we don't do novels because that would be impossible.
Yep.
So now I'm, kind of working on getting my students to renew. That's something that's kind of new to me because I've had some students that just
Yeah.
kind of finishing up their 12 weeks. And so, some of them didn't renew, some of them did. So, that's another area that I'm kind of coming across that I need to really work on and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, but
I
yeah, it's a
love
12 weeks.
Yeah, I love what you said just in regards to, hey, I started here, I did this first model, and then I kind of upgraded from there and raised my price. Again, we always want your
Oh,
company
yeah.
to be able to, as you keep increasing your price, to say, hey, there's no difference between me saying 397 and 797 or saying 800 or 1200, right? It really is a lot of our insecurities in us that kind of holds us back from
Hmm.
raising our prices because we will project a lot of those insecurities on other people. But I was in the same exact spot, with test prep. I was trying to figure out, I ran 6 week classes and then I ran 12-week classes. And then I was like, how can I go ahead and move into a program where I could sign anybody up at any time? And you know what? It came down to the community. It came down to talking with so many people inside of the teacher project to say, how are you doing this? How are you running this? And getting different ideas, not taking everything, verbatim, but saying, wow, let me think about that. Let me percolate on that. Yeah, that could actually work in my program. Now I take a sales call. I want to go ahead and bring somebody into my test prep program. Bam, they can start right then and there. No resistance, no waiting. And so as you think through that, keep working on that. Keep figuring that out. That's going to be a key thing here moving forward, which is great. Which is great. So,
I
yeah.
think Kyle David misunderstood. I didn't answer your question fully, and I'm seeing some questions. The 197 was for the 30-day case study in the very beginning, which the teacher project recommends you do, which is absolutely perfect because you just kind of start small and get your feet wet and stuff. But actually, I talked to my coach today. So I still talk to my coach. I still ask questions because there's a point where, at 1200, I was getting price objections and I had never gotten price objections. So it's kind of one of those things. I can change my price anytime I want. I can change it while I'm on a call. I mean, if I'm getting a price objection, I can say, well, it's normally 1200, but right now I'm doing kind of an end of the summer thing, so it's only 1095. So I can change my price. There may be that ceiling where you start getting those price objections for whatever you're teaching. I don't do a lot of payment plans. I don't do deposits. I don't do anything like that because one thing I've learned is that if you let people do things like that, they're going to do it.
Yep.
So I don't have a money conversation about it. I know a child's reading comprehension is worth $1,000. If they don't buy, then maybe it's something that I did, or maybe they just weren't the right fit. But 1,200 is the highest that I've asked. So sometimes I'll let them divide it into two payments. It's 1,300, but I never ever let them do deposits, and they can only make two payments if they want to do
Yep.
that. So yeah, I
Always
don't.
want to go
Yeah.
ahead and hold firm on that. Hey, this is how
Hmm.
much it is. Because a lot of the
Hmm.
times people go like, hey, it's this much, but if you want to break it up into payments, it's this much per
Mm-mm.
month. And it's like, yeah, people will always take that
Yeah, for
unless
sure.
you hold there. So that's a great
Sure.
question. Great question. Well, I know that we're coming up on the top of our time here, Kelly. I'm here together, and I just really appreciate you kind of jumping in with me, just to kind of share your story and where you're at. One thing we haven't talked about that I really want to go ahead and just dig into here briefly is that, when folks come into the teacher project, initially they're learning
Mhm.
marketing, they're learning sales, they're learning fulfillment. But after a while, we start having to kind of dig in and realize, okay, I am going to have to go ahead and maybe bring on a virtual assistant to kind of get a little bit of my time back. Maybe I need to bring on like an instructor. And I know from firsthand experience, and I know you're going through this right now as well, that you know what? The hiring process, management, finding people that want to stick around more than 30 seconds, It is a new skill set. It is something that we learn after we get those foundations in place. And I know you're going through it right now, and it's like, yep, we're
Mhm.
riding the wave. But yeah, anything you can kind of fill in folks on like this new space that you're in, because I know it's frustrating with a teacher coming in and stepping out. But yeah, what thoughts are coming up for you just around that?
Yeah, so yeah, Kyle, that was like a, riding the waves. That wave kind of slapped me in the face. I like that question about the assessment, another area that I've gone back and forth with. I kind of have my own thoughts on that. I'll share in a minute, but yeah, so, I actually decided to hire a tutor because I was teaching 11 hours a week. And like I said, those are just red lights in your progress as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I'm selling my product, but other people are good teachers and they can work with my students. So yeah, I decided to go ahead and because I like the sales part actually. Believe it or not, the
Yeah.
tutoring is probably my least favorite part of the business. I love calling people and I love selling. Like I
Yeah.
can't wait to call all those leads because you know what? They reached out to me. So I'm actually doing them a favor by fitting time into my schedule to call you. So
Hmm.
I love doing that. But so I just decided I need to hire a tutor because that's the part that bogs me down, that takes my time, that I really don't enjoy doing that much. Believe it or not, when I used to I love teaching, but anyway, so I decided to hire a tutor, and I spent a lot of time. And this was my first hire. I didn't know what I
Hmm.
was doing. I really didn't. I mean, I followed the program, but in the end, you just have to go through it. And I spent a lot of time and I introduced her to my students and my families and I did all this stuff. And then, I get a text one night, yeah, I'm just going to have to resign. Yeah. And I'm like, so it just completely pulled the rug right out from underneath
Yeah.
me. And then I ended up having to teach all these classes last weekend. And it just, yeah, it really kind of took the wind out of my sails. I'm going to be honest. And, I have some calls that I couldn't close. And, some people were ghosting me. And so it's kind of one of those things where, I reached out to the coaches and, I have my pity parties and then I have all these doubts that start coming in my mind. I don't know if that'll ever change because there's always something you have to deal with, right? So, but anyway, the moral of that story is that, Kyle, that I learned a lot today, actually, just ironically, about the hiring process. And Hanford and Ollie, they really gave me some great, Hanford's my coach, about how to hire. And I was really not going about it very well. So huge lesson learned there. I thought it would be easy, oh, blah, blah. And then in the end, I kind of got burned on that. So yeah,
We all have to walk through those moments,
that's
right?
right.
I just
Yeah.
as soon as I saw your messages and what had happened, I was like,
Yeah.
yep, I was
Yeah.
there. I remember
Yeah.
my first person didn't really run a hiring process, just went ahead and hired some person that
Yep.
like reached out to me, trained them
Yep.
all up, and it
Yep.
was a train wreck. And I was like,
Yep.
okay, I'm gonna learn how not to do that again.
Yeah,
And is
exactly.
that the only time I made a hire? No, I've made a lot since then, but you get better and better and better. Just like the first ad you push out is
Mhm.
not the best, but you get
Yeah.
better and better and better. The first sales call
Yeah.
you ever take, you get better and better and better. The first
Hmm.
hire you make, guess what? We've never done it before. And it can sting a little bit. We get burned a little bit, but that's okay. It doesn't mean that that's going to happen every single time. It means that we're going
Hmm.
to approach it in a better way. We're going to be thinking about risk. We're going to be thinking about how to get them in, test loyalty, see if they're ready for more responsibility. All of those things play out. And so, guys, if you're watching
Yeah.
this, I just want you guys to know, man, we got to go back and have that growth mindset and be able to say, look how far we've come. Look at where we started. Look how far we've come. And you know what? Being around people, being around community is so incredibly important because if you're doing it by yourself, it's easy for your brain to take yourself out as well. Let's
Mhm.
answer one more question here. I know that there was a question around the assessments, right? Being able to maybe use those to assess whether a student is, higher strength, has weaknesses, how you can use that in your process. Kelly, do you use something like that in your marketing and sales process?
Yeah, so that's another thing that I really struggled with. Like, because parents, if you that well, do you do assessments? Do you assess them? Can you give them an assessment? So they want something for free before they sign on, and I never ever do that. Now, with that being said, when I was struggling with my sales calls, something that one of the coaches brought up to me, Ollie, that give them a little pre-assessment. And I've talked about, and again, I reached out to the community, some of the coaches, Katie, they advised me to do just a real short little thing, not this big long test that I have to grade, that half of the
Hmm.
kids don't do. And any good teacher knows if their kids get it by asking questions and watching them closely and observing them. Like my first session, I can tell where they what they're getting and what they're not reading, listening to them
Yeah.
read, asking them questions, right? I don't need an assessment. But with that being said, parents like it. So I've started doing like a little Google form where they do a little self-assessment. Actually, I haven't used it yet because I just came up with it and I haven't had a
Hmm.
student come in since then, but I'm going to use it. Just ask them some self-reflective questions like, how do you see yourself as a reader? They have to rate it and then they have to answer it. And then a real short little reading passage and maybe a couple little short grammatical questions on a Google form. So it's self-graded and I can look at that. And then I'm going to do it. My new thing is I'm going to do it 6 weeks into the course, and then I'm going to do the same thing at the end of the course. Different questions, but kind of the same thing. So now 6 weeks in, how do you see yourself as a reader? So, parents really like that progress. But at the same time, I had a little bit of an issue with it because I was like, I'm not a classroom teacher. This is not a classroom. I'm not here to teach to a test. I'm not here to give them grades. So I'm really I kind of grappled with that. But parents do like to see that tangible progress. And in the end, I have to sell a product that parents will buy into. So
Assessments can really work to kind of drive people down the sales process to provide you with some leverage, even in
mhm,
the right space to be like, hey, this is where your student is, this is where we want to get them. You create that what we call the gap to show, hey, this is where you are, point A, we want to get you to point B. My program is that vehicle to go ahead and do that. So I love it. I
exactly.
love it. Well,
Hmm.
let's go ahead here and we'll be wrapping up here today. Guys, I just want to thank you guys so much for jumping on here today. Christopher, Holly, Lauren, Maria, all of you guys. Just really, really appreciate you guys jumping on. Kelli, as you kind of think about folks that maybe aren't in the program right now, what would be one or two maybe gold nuggets of advice that you might give them here today? Just to kind of help them on their journey.
Yeah, oh, there's so much. How do I narrow it down? I like that question. And I see one, how do you market for small groups if they're all on different levels? Yeah, without going into whole bunch about that. I do sixth and seventh grader. It's just how you market yourself. That's really important. I would say that you really have to be willing to change things and don't try to do it your way. You can definitely tweak things and it's your business and it's your decisions, but if you start straying away from scripts or straying away, that's kind of where you tend to start getting into trouble. And I've had to struggle with that. Like if things are not going the way I want them to go, I tend to retreat. Like, okay, no, I'm not going to, I just need to work harder. I just need to do this. I don't want to, spew all my negative Nelly all over everybody. So I'm just going to, dig in and work harder. But at the end, that's not why I joined the teacher project. I joined
Exactly.
it because of all the people and they really are phenomenal. These coaches are amazing. And I'm not just saying that, they really are. So don't retreat, dig in. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie. It requires, just like any business, it requires a lot of effort and it
Mhm.
requires a lot of work and commitment and dedication and consistency. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't sleep late or, maybe work from, Mondays and Tuesdays. I mean, obviously, if you're teaching full time, totally different. But you have to be willing to just really put in the work.
Yeah. Couldn't
Hmm.
have said it any better myself that, you know
Hmm.
what, if we're doing anything of substance, anything of value that is going to be
Hmm.
rewarding, fulfillment, it's going to make a difference in this world. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be something
Yeah,
that just snap your fingers instantly happens. No,
that's
wouldn't be
right.
worth it if that was the case. Everybody would be doing it, right? And
That's
so,
right. That's exactly right.
guys, if you're coming in and you're in a place where Kelly was, where you're just like, I freaking love teaching, but I'm sick and tired of doing it over here, and I want to go ahead and be that person with the creative control to go ahead and set things up. We do have to understand we need to learn definitely some new skills. marketing, sales, fulfillment. In Kelly's case, the hiring stuff that she's going through right now. It's all just like a new chapter of this game. But as you go ahead and you graduate, you get to reuse those skills. We always tell people we're not here to teach or like give people fish. We're here to teach people how to fish, right? We want you
Hmm.
to learn the skills to become
Yeah.
an independent problem solver that takes control of your business and ultimately your life at the end
Hmm.
of the day. And so I dropped that link in the chat again, guys. If you're watching this and you're resonating with it and you're like, yes, I want to go ahead, I want to start my own thing, I want to have an impact on kids or adults or teach whatever it is that you want, click that link. We'd love to go ahead and chat with you and see if it's even an option. There's certain folks we can help, there's certain folks that we can't help. And so definitely just go ahead, check it out. We'd love to chat with you and see if it might be an option. All right. So again, guys, thank you so much for jumping on. Kelli, I just want to give you a big thank you as well for jumping on here, sharing your story, hitting that 10K month, and then just allowing us to see, hey, where did you start? What did the middle look like and where you're at now? I've just watched you grow so much, Kelli, as you've gone through these different trials and these different challenges. And I just want you to know this is just that next phase, that next refinement piece for you and your journey. So
Thank
congratulations.
you,
You're doing a
Kyle.
fantastic job. And we
Thanks
got your
for
back
listening.
here every
Thank
step of the
you.
way.
Thank
Every
you
step
for
of the
letting me
way.
share
So
my story.
yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for jumping on here with us. And
Thanks,
guys,
everybody. Great
enjoy the
questions.
rest
Thank
of your
you.
day. And we'll be running these on a regular basis. So we hope to catch you guys on the next client interview here as well.
Thanks,
Kelli,
everybody. Thanks.
thank you
My
so much.
pleasure.
Have a great
My
day, guys.
pleasure.
See
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Thank you. Bye.